It was the beginning of junior year when Nelson transferred to our school. He showed up one random Tuesday morning in September. Quiet kid, kept his head down, wore the same dark hoodie probably 4 days a week. Ate lunch alone at a table in the corner of the cafeteria. You know the kind of kid that just blends into the background. Most of us didn't even notice him at first. But some people did, and those people saw opportunity. There was this group of guys at our school, popular guys, athletes mostly, the kind of kids who thought they were untouchable. At the very center of this group was Tyler. Tyler was good-looking, wealthy, played varsity baseball, had the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. His friend group was basically his entourage. They went everywhere together. They made the rules of the school, at least in their minds, and they decided, almost immediately, that Marcus was going to be their target. It started small. I remember seeing it in the hallway the first week. Tyler accidentally bumped into Nelson and knocked his books out of his hands. They scattered all over the floor. Tyler didn't apologize. He just kept walking, his friends laughing behind him. Then it got worse. They started stealing his lunch. He'd sit down with a sandwich and a drink, and within minutes, one of them would grab it off the table and throw it away. Nelson would just leave. He'd go hungry the rest of the day. He never said anything to anyone. They created a fake Instagram account pretending to be him. They posted horrible photos with captions designed to humiliate him. Made fake confessions about girls he liked. They photoshopped his face onto embarrassing images and shared them around the school. Hundreds of kids saw them. Hundreds. The worst part, Nelson wasn't even on Instagram. He didn't know they were doing this for like 2 weeks. I'll never forget this. It was a random Tuesday in October. The hallway was packed between classes, and Tyler and 3 of his friends literally ganged up on Nelson. They cornered him near his locker. Tyler shoved him hard. Nelson crashed into the metal locker door. The sound echoed through the entire hallway. Everyone stopped. Everyone saw it. And then Tyler and his friends just walked away laughing, like it was nothing. Like they didn't just commit assault in front of 100 witnesses. Nelson slid down to the floor. He was just sitting there, stunned. His backpack was on the ground. His books were scattered. And not a single person helped him. Not me. Not the other students. Nobody. We all just watched. We all knew it was wrong. We all did nothing. What blew my mind was that Nelson never fought back. Never told a teacher. Never went to the principal. Never got his parents involved. He just endured it. He'd show up to school every single day knowing this was going to happen. Knowing people would mock him, steal from him, humiliate him, and he still came. That level of just accepting your own mistreatment, I couldn't understand it then. I understand it better now. When you're alone, when you're new, when you don't have allies, you don't know what your options are. You just survive. You put your head down and you survive. It was a normal Tuesday morning in November. We had a mandatory school assembly. The whole student body was packed into the auditorium, maybe 1,200 kids. Teachers were everywhere. The principal was supposed to make some announcements, talk about upcoming events, all the usual stuff. We all filed into the auditorium and sat down. The principal walked out on stage. And then he said something that made my stomach drop. I'd like to introduce our new principal. He starts today. Please welcome Dr. Stephen Thornes. And a man walked out on stage. It took me a solid 5 seconds to realize who he was. It was Nelson's dad. I'm not exaggerating when I say the entire auditorium went silent. Like, eerily silent. You could hear people shifting in their seats. You could hear the quiet whisper starting. People were turning to each other like, did that just happen? Nelson was sitting a few rows in front of me. I watched him. He just stared straight ahead. I couldn't see his face, but his whole body went rigid. Dr. Thorne stood at the podium. He looked out at all of us. And he smiled. Not in a mean way, just a calm, knowing smile. Like he already knew what was about to happen. Within 24 hours, Dr. Thorne sent out an email to the entire school. Subject line, new zero-tolerance bullying policy effective immediately. The email outlined that there would be a comprehensive investigation into bullying incidents at the school. It said that security footage would be reviewed. Social media accounts would be examined, students would be interviewed. And there would be severe consequences for bullying, harassment, and physical assault. The locker room went crazy that day. Kids were panicking. The popular kids who'd never faced consequences for anything suddenly looked nervous. I remember Tyler in the cafeteria that day, talking to his friends. He was trying to play it cool, saying it was just empty threats. But I could see the worrying in his face. He knew. Somewhere deep down, he knew he'd been caught. Over the next 2 weeks, Dr. Thornes methodically pulled students in for questioning. He had access to security footage from the hallways. He had screenshots of the fake Instagram account and could trace it back to the IP addresses of the computers it was created from. He had testimony from students who'd witnessed the incidents. He was building an airtight case. Tyler got called in first, then his 3 closest friends, then the other kids who'd participated in the cyberbullying. He interviewed Nelson, too, but privately. I don't know what he said to his son, but Nelson came back to school the next day and something was different. He wasn't afraid anymore. He walked through the hallways differently. His head was up. By the end of the 3rd week, the hammer came down. Tyler was expelled. Full stop. No chance to appeal. Expelled for physical assault, cyberbullying, and harassment. 2 of his closest friends were expelled as well. The other kids in the group got suspended for the rest of the year. And here's where it gets real. They all had their college scholarship offers reviewed. 2 of them lost their athletic scholarships. One kid who had a full ride to a D1 school, gone. His scholarship was rescinded because of the discipline record. These weren't just school consequences, these were life-altering consequences. But here's the thing that really impressed me about Dr. Washington. He didn't just punish the bullies and call it a day. He actually changed the school. He implemented comprehensive mental health resources. He hired full-time counselors who specialized in bullying and trauma. He created a peer mentorship program where students could report bullying anonymously. He brought in speakers to talk about the effects of bullying. He made it clear, through policy and through culture, that this was not acceptable. He also did something else that was brilliant. He made sure every victim of Tyler and his group knew they could come forward without fear. He reached out to parents. He reviewed grades that might have been affected by bullying or social pressure. There was this one girl who'd been pressured into changing her grades by Tyler's friend group. Dr. Washington found out, reviewed her actual academic performance, and changed her transcript. That change was enough to get her into her safety school instead of community college. The weirdest thing happened after Dr. Washington took over. The entire culture of the school changed. It wasn't overnight, but gradually, bullying became something that people actually faced consequences for. And more importantly, it became something that wasn't cool anymore. Social hierarchies shifted. Kids who'd been quiet and kept their heads down started speaking up. Kids who'd been on the periphery of the bullying groups started distancing themselves. New friendships formed. New dynamics emerged. It sounds like a Disney movie, but I'm telling you, it was real. The school was genuinely different. And Marcus absolutely thrived. Senior year, he became student body president. Junior year, he was invisible, tormented, alone. He ran on a platform of anti-bullying and inclusivity. And he won, overwhelmingly. When he gave his acceptance speech at the assembly, he didn't call anyone out by name. He didn't seek revenge in his words. He just talked about the importance of standing up for what's right. Even when it's hard, even when it's scary. He talked about how one person, his dad, deciding to do the right thing changed everything. He talked about how institutions can change, how policies can change, how people can change. Tyler graduated from high school with a tarnished record. He didn't go to a traditional 4-year university. He ended up going to community college, and from what I know, he's still living in our hometown working a retail job. I've seen him around town a few times, and there's just this resignation in his face, like he knows what he did, like he knows how it all fell apart. His friends scattered. One of them actually went to therapy and has publicly apologized for his role in the bullying. He's working with anti-bullying organizations now, ironically. Another one moved out of state and tried to start over. The third one, I don't really know where he ended up. Nelson graduated as valedictorian of his class. He got a full academic scholarship to Yale. He's currently studying environmental science and is on the dean's list. He's also part of the university's peer mentoring program, specifically working with students who've experienced bullying or social trauma. Last I heard, he was dating a girl from his chemistry class and was genuinely happy. Like, the kind of happy that comes from overcoming something real and dark. Dr. Thornes is still the principal of that high school. Over the next few years, the school became known as one of the safest schools in the district. They won an award for their anti-bullying initiatives. The suicide and self-harm rates dropped significantly. The mental health program became a model that other schools replicated. It turns out that when you actually care about your students and you're willing to enforce accountability, things change. I think about this story a lot. I think about how differently it could have gone. Marcus was alone. He was suffering. He had no one to turn to. And if his dad hadn't taken that job at our school, if he hadn't had someone with actual power who cared about him, I genuinely don't know where he'd be now. The thing about bullying is that it's not just about the moment. It's about the message. It tells the victim that they don't matter, that they're not worthy of protection, that the powerful can hurt them with no consequences. But this story is about what happens when someone with power decides it's not going to be the case anymore. Sometimes justice doesn't come immediately. Sometimes it takes a parent becoming a principal. Sometimes it takes building a case methodically and carefully. Sometimes it takes changing an entire institution from the inside out. But when it does come, when accountability is finally enforced, when the victims are finally protected, that changes everything. Marcus went from being nobody to being somebody because one person decided to stand up for him. That's the story I'll never forget.